Yeah, I'm Matt from the band Mose Giganticus.
And you want to tell us a little about Mose Giganticus?
Yeah.
Giganticus?
Yeah, absolutely. So Mose Giganticus is essentially my solo project. We do a lot of touring, and when I go out for tours, I bring on other musicians to fill out the back line. I think to date, I've had something like 22 or 23 live members, including myself, and we're on tour right now in Ithaca.
How many have you had at once? What's the most band members you've had?
I think we played it as a 5-piece once. Usually we play as a 3-piece. I'm starting to get towards, I'd like to do more 4-piece where we have 2 guitarists. So I think for the stuff coming up, there's going to be more tours with 2 guitars, myself and a drummer.
How long have you been together?
The band started, the idea of the band started in 1999 as a solo project for myself, and it was predominantly electronic music at that point. That's kind of something that I was exploring into, and then it went on kind of back burner hiatus for maybe 5 or 6 years or so. Came back in 2007 and was doing more of a, 2005, I was doing more of like a rock band with synth style thing, and that's kind of like what's progressed into what we have now.
Okay, how would you describe the style you're playing now?
I mean, really, other than the fact that it has, that we use synthesizers and vocoders and some like backing track electronic stuff, it's really predominantly, I feel like it's heavy rock music. Metal feels a little bit more extreme than what we do. Yeah, people have a hard time saying that it would be like just straight heavy metal or even hard rock or heavy rock, just because of the synthesizers that are involved in it. So people end up calling it like prog sludge, or prog metal, prog rock, all kinds of synth this, synth that, prog this, prog that. I'm fine with that too.
Nice. Yeah, you have 2 albums out before this current one on Relapse?
Not on Relapse. This is the first one on Relapse.
Right, before the one on Relapse.
Yeah, you got it, yeah. So, yeah, we have, the first record was called The Invisible Hand. That was a full length. And then we had an EP called Commander that came out in 2008. And then this is the next thing after all.
How had the Relapse thing happen?
Well, I had completely recorded Gift Horse and had already kind of gone in the direction that it is now, which was kind of a break from the earlier stuff that we were doing, that I was doing. And so I had the whole thing recorded, tracked, and it was planned to come out on my previous label, Slanty Shanty Records. But after I got it all done, it was like the direction it had taken had gotten so much heavier than the stuff we had done and the other stuff that was on Slanty Shanty that, although they were still willing and happy to put it out, we started talking about maybe looking for a label where it would be a little bit better suited. And so I happen to have some friends that are friends with guys at Relapse, and I kind of like, they were in the studio while I was doing some of this stuff, and they're like, hey man, we'd be happy to pitch it some of our friends at Relapse and see what they think about it. And I was like, yeah, that'd be really helpful and awesome. And yeah, like a week later or so, I got an email from the guys at Relapse, and we started talking about doing this.
Cool. Where are the first 2 records available?
They're actually both available at the Relapse website now. Relapse is carrying the back catalog, so Invisible Hand only came out on CD, and Commander came out on CD and 7-inch vinyl. They're both available at relapse.com, as well as I think for download on iTunes, but CD Baby I think has some of them too.
Where'd the name of the band come from?
The name of the band, Mose Giganticus, came from kind of an adaptation of the improper grammar Most Gigantic Est. And that came from an idea that I had for the band very early on, where essentially, yeah, it was going to be, the band was going to consist of myself and 30 or 40 other members, and I would set up a band lineup to write one song, and then we would do a totally different lineup and write another song, and so on and so forth. And so by the time we had a record out, or recorded, that would be 12 or 14 songs. There might be 30 or 40 people involved in this band, each of which, involving myself and 4 or 5 other people for each song. So that was the idea, and it never got off the ground, not even close to getting off the ground. And that just became my solo project, and kind of went on from there.
So from tons of members to 1.
Yeah, to 1. And now I'm back to I'm back to 23 members now because every time I go on tour, I bring on different guys to fill out the lineup. So it's kind of come full circle.
Now, are you playing everything on the CD or?
Not everything on the CD yet. We're doing most of the stuff from Gift Tours.
No, I mean performance-wise on the CD.
Am I personally doing everything? Okay. No, I don't play guitar. I play drums. I do all the keyboard work and a lot of the vocal work. I had two friends who play guitar, and they're excellent guitarists, and one of those guys also does some backing vocals. So essentially, when I'm writing the songs, I'm writing them all on keyboard, but a lot of the parts I am envisioning them being eventually on guitar. So I'll use, I'll write things for guitar with having in mind different playing techniques and things that you would utilize as playing guitar. Because I think in terms of guitar, but like I said, I don't play it, at least not yet. So I kind of lean on my friends and try to translate to them what I want the keyboard lines to do, and they are virtuosos and they make it happen.
Nice.
Yeah.
How much does the sound change when you go on tour live as opposed to the recorded stuff?
Well, I mean, I don't think any more than any typical band. Some bands may sound exactly like the CD when they play. I think it comes off a little bit heavier even live, I've been told. I know I personally feel like the CD is pretty heavy to begin with, but when you play live, you have that extra energy in there, and it comes off as being has a little bit more impact to it. But yeah, we still use some backing tracks to fill out a lot of the parts where there's a lot of atmospheric things going on, or more than we could reasonably do as a band. Because I try to run the tour very efficiently, and I don't want to have 6 or 7 members out on tour. It's just too much to handle, and not to mention scheduling everybody's around their work and everything like that. So yeah, we basically do a 3 or 4 piece and cover 90% of the ground that's on the CD, and then use backing tracks to fill out the rest.
Nice. What's the weirdest thing that's happened to you at a show?
Weirdest thing at a show. Well, most recently, I wouldn't call it weird, but it was pretty terrible. I've been shocked from mics and stuff before, but we played a basement the other day in Morgantown, West Virginia. And when the first thing I plugged in to the outlet, it sparked and kind of exploded a little bit. So we obviously weren't using that outlet. I went to another outlet, and none of the other outlets had ground pins on them. So I said, okay, I've done this before, that's fine too. So I ran power to everything, and everything metal that we touched, it was not just like a shock, because I've been through that before, but it was like minor electrocution. So anytime my mouth would touch the mic, I was feeling it in my teeth, and like the roots of my teeth actually. And my guitarist Kyle, every time he would touch the strings, like between songs, he had his hands off the guitar because it was shocking him so bad, but he was just kind of gritting through it. Yeah, so that was pretty rough.
How did this affect your sound?
We cut the set a little bit shorter than we would have. It sounded great though, actually. The sound in that basement, for what it was worth, ended up coming out really well. But yeah, we cut about 2 songs from the set because it was just way too painful.
What's the best experience you've had on tour?
Just being on tour. I love being on tour, and every time we pull up to a show and actually make it there, it's a little slice of heaven for me. For better or worse, no matter how the show goes, it's like day by day. Because with this bus, I've had some breakdowns with it, and every time we're driving 3, 5, 8 hours between shows, it's always in the back of my head, like I want to get to the show no matter what, and if this van breaks down, I got to figure out a way to get there, things like that. And so every time we roll up, I'm like, okay, another one checked off, another show we're gonna play, and it's a great time.
And the van runs on vegetable oil?
It runs on straight vegetable oil, yeah, not to be confused with biodiesel, which is a buzzword that comes out a lot of times when people are talking about this. They'll just kind of default to saying biodiesel, but that's actually a different form of fuel made from vegetable oil. But yeah, we collect waste vegetable oil from restaurants after they are done frying whatever, potatoes, onion rings, whatever. They have to dump that out into a grease trap, and then that gets picked up by a renderer and turned into usually animal feed or lipstick or things like that. But if we're able to intercept it before the renderer comes and gets it, we can filter it right inside the bus here. I built a filtering system that's mobile, and we filter it, process it right in the bus, and then put it into an auxiliary tank that we have right inside the bus there, 70 gallons at a time. And it runs the same as if it were on diesel. We had a conversion done to the engine, so it can take the vegetable oil just like diesel. And it's
now, will it run on standard gas if you can't get vegetable oil?
Not gasoline, but diesel fuel. It has to be. Yeah, it's a diesel engine. It's a diesel vehicle. Yeah, we just got back right now from collecting about 40 gallons of grease, we get about 12 miles per gallon, whether we're running vegetable oil or diesel. The engine doesn't know the difference.
Do they usually give you the grease for free?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
nice.
I'd be willing. I have in Alaska when we actually toured to Alaska in 2008, and when we were up there, we were so strapped for grease that I ended up buying it from a rendering plant. But it was like $1.25 a gallon versus diesel fuel up there was $5.25 a gallon in Alaska. So I mean, I'd be willing to pay for it, but that's the only time I've ever had to actually pay for it was actually in Alaska. Yes, Dave?
You want to give him a hug, Dave?
Kind of.
Go ahead.
All right, Dave, bring it in.
Now, what's the strangest thing that's happened to you at a show?
Still not this. Still not this.
I don't want to grab your butt.
That still wouldn't be the strangest thing. There's a fella, one of my best friends, his name's Kyle, and he has a band called the Emotron. And for anyone who's ever heard of the Emotron or like seen his show, he's a really weird dude. And for a couple of years, the finale to his show would be to light his bare penis on fire. And so I would see that every night after night. One night he gave himself a chocolate syrup enema. Another night he peed into a Gatorade powder can and stirred it up and drank it and then vomited up his Gatorade urine. So I've been hardened by all
Yeah,
that.
I guess so.
Yeah, it's become hard to impress me.
Does he still have a penis?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's still there, wiggling around, getting lit on fire.
Is he still doing it?
He doesn't do the penis fire that much anymore because he knew it was a gimmick for years. He did it for about 3 or 4 years every night that he would play, and we just got tired of it. It became the sort of thing where it blew out of proportion, and now that's all anyone wants to see. So he kind of like painted himself into a corner with it, you know, and so he's not too thrilled about it anymore. I mean, it's not like he stopped doing it because of any reason other than he just is tired of it. You know, it's not fun anymore for him. So, but yeah.
What as far as lyrical inspiration, where do you get that from?
I always do concept records. I feel like I can't really write lyrics for, you know, a multiple songs unless I have kind of a common thread and something that's an inspiration for me to write about. So for Invisible Hand, I wrote about humanity's relationship with technology, was the kind of the concept of that, song for song. Commander was about the life and the tragic life of Nikola Tesla, which I read a biography on Tesla and was just fascinated and disappointed by the way that he was treated in his lifetime, you know. So that was the inspiration for Commander. And then for this one, it's really the overarching concept of this record is forces in opposition, but in order to put that into kind of like personify that, I use the mythological figures of Christian God and Christian Satan, and it's kind of those ideas. The lyrics are written in the form of a conversation between these two figures, each one trying to kind of like plead their case for, you know, why what they want is right, and kind of with humanity as an audience to that. So song by song, it's either written from one perspective or the other, and that's kind of like where a lot of this came from. I went to Catholic school for 12 years and just had a lot of background in that.
So it's not meant necessarily in a religious context as much?
No, it's more of the storyline behind it is fascinating to me, and I knew enough about it being raised in it. But it's really not pro either. It's not pro God or pro Satan necessarily, but because the mainstream mentality in, you know, most places in the world would be pro God, because that's the way you're supposed to think. Because I'm, you know, presenting a counterpoint to that, it may seem pro Satan, but really I try to be pretty even keeled about it. I'm not religious or spiritual myself at all. I'm atheist, but the mythology behind it and the story behind it has been fascinating to me for years, and I did some research on it, read up a lot about things that have evolved through the years as far as how the storyline goes. Certain things start cropping up in this period of history that never existed before, and then that becomes the predominant idea of how we view Satan or how we view God, and that kind of evolution of the two figures is interesting to me.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, anything else people should know about the band?
We'll be on tour for the rest of the year until Thanksgiving, everything east of the Rockies we're trying to cover, so keep a lookout for us. Gift Horse is available now everywhere through Relapse Records and multiple stores, and we hope to see you out on the road.